Welcome everyone, Costini here with a discussion about the Ogres in Total War Warhammer 3. Anyone who's watched this channel for any length of time knows my perspective on the Ogres. They're a particularly bad race, as are the Day 1 races in general, because they're made through the marketing budget, not through the actual development budget, and they generally feel unfinished, and it may take a significant amount of time for them to be fixed. I mean, look at the number of years it took to make the Warriors of Chaos playable. Look at how long it has passed and Norsca is still not the great race, and then we have the Ogres. If there's anything I hope from Creative Assembly going forward is that they will abandon this idea of the Day 1 DLC race pack, at least the way they've done it so far, because it just has generally ended up being terrible. I think Troy, the Total War Saga trade, did it better. We did get a bonus with the Amazons, in the sense if you got the game on day 1, you got the Amazons as a bonus. But Amazons were not a day 1 DLC. They came out later. They got proper development. That is a significantly better way of handling that situation. Also makes it seem far less, makes it less of a situation of cutting content out of the game to just put in a DLC pack. That is my perspective on that. That's where I stand, and is what I hope Creative Assembly changes. But what are the problems with the Ogres? Oh man, are there many problems with the Ogres. Now, here's one interesting thing to understand about the Ogres. The Ogre army itself is actually great. Like, if we look at the unit roster for the Ogres, if we see what they have available, while the roster is limited because they only have their initial roster, they didn't get any DLC, what is available between Ogre Bulls, Mariners, Cavalry, Artillery is actually a fairly great roster of units that could be a lot of fun. Problem is, you will never see this roster in action if you're playing an Ogre campaign, because guess what? You don't have the economy to sustain that. Oh no, you don't. At least for a very, very, very long time. So, the basic economic structure for an Ogre in a minor settlement goes up to 1,000 cost for a tier 3 one that only generates 150 income. 150 income is pathetic. And the Ogres have always been bad. It's not like they're bad within the context of Immortal Empires. They're bad within the context of Realms of Chaos. And we shouldn't ignore that. Because, like, the best way to play the Ogres is just get a ton of Ogre Bulls and make that work. Eventually, you might be able to get Iron Guts if you're playing Rhesus, or Gorgers if you're playing Scrag, just for their own armies. But your secondary, tertiary armies, if you even can afford them, and good luck with that, will not be running around with those kind of units for a very long time. So the economy of structures in the actual settlements is not that great. Now, you then have the camp system. Now, in theory, this is where things could be far more interesting with the camps. But the camps, if you get them to tier 5, each camp buffs your entire income by 12%. So, get a ton of camps, you can buff your economy for the stratosphere. In theory, in practice, in reality, you're going to need about 8 camps to just double the income of this 150 income building to 300. 300 isn't bad income, but it's certainly not great income either. It's decent, and you're gonna need 8 camps, or really more, in order to achieve that level of power in your campaign. And camps are supposed to be the center of your economy. If you could have a lot of camps, that would be one thing. If those camps would not be so limited early on, it would be another thing. But the camps are incredibly limited. They use the camp growth system. They can be slower to grow than other things. There are certain contracts that do vastly improve camp growth, and there are the ways to improve that, but camps are limited. And here's the issue. Here's the issue with camps. Until you get the Sky Titans plateau, which takes 73 turns, because it takes 3 turns to get the camp huddle. it will take 70 additional turns to get Sky Titan Plateau. You are going to be limited severely in the number of camps you can have. So if you're rushing for research, the most you can get is 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 camps for 70 turns in your entire campaign. You can get more Black Arcs, and Black Arcs are not as essential as camps in a Dark Elf campaign. They are useful, absolutely, but they aren't essential. You could, of course, go for the Big Tents upgrade, but that would actually slow you down in terms of getting Sky Titan's Plateau. So you end up with a limited economy, limited camps, and camps are trying to do a lot of things. One, you need them to increase your economy, but also you need them for the sake of unit recruitment, because your unit recruitment is severely limited by the minor settlements in your actual settlements that you control. This is a campaign, this is a race that was designed deliberately for a campaign that Creative Assembly designed, Realms of Chaos specifically. Realms of Chaos was designed to take 120 turns to defeat. Remember that particular aspect. And it was also designed to be more passive, so having 1 or 2 camps in your campaign in a critical area of your map, getting money from the rifts, that is one dynamic. However, that's not how Immortal Empires works. Immortal Empires, the reason the Ogres are terrible is they just flat out get beaten up by everyone. And honestly, even in Realms of Chaos, the Ogres are just really slow and pathetic. You play Cafe, for instance, in Realms of Chaos. You end up dominating the map by turn 60, like most of it, if not all of it. Or an enormous portion of the map by turn 60. Good luck doing that to the Ogres. It's not a question of the Ogres being unable to win battles. It's just a question of not being able to have enough armies to deal with all the various fronts on a campaign map. And that's quite a shame. There are mods to do fixes. The Great Ogre Hall that does make the Ogre significantly more powerful on a campaign. But suffice to say, it isn't a great dynamic that we do get to deal with Ogres. And hey, maybe they would need a Christmas gift. Now, I have a theory on this subject. I have a theory that Creative Assembly, with certain races, with their design, the reason they're not buffing their economy, because you have to understand, buffing the economic potential of a race is just going into the files of the game and just doubling the income of the Gold Horde, or tripling it, yes. That's one of the things that Creative Assembly could do. Or giving you 2 camp capacity for every single one of these, for instance. Creative Assembly could do that. It would be easy to do that. But I'm not sure why they don't want to do it. One particular theory I have is they want to try and maintain that ridiculously stupid pace of Realms of Chaos. I don't know. Like, you see Creative Assembly patches. Again and again and again, Creative Assembly introduces various changes to unit recruitment costs, unit recruitment costs in a campaign. Sometimes they introduce some upkeep changes, but very rarely. But what you see exceptionally rarely from Creative Assembly is any kind of change in terms of the economy of races, which is absurd because we all know which races struggle. We all know which races have a problem on the campaign map and which don't. I don't think there's any excuse for what Creative Assembly is doing. I think the Ogres would need more than just an economic buff to become better, but it would really help, for instance. It would make things like just increasing capacity for research, maybe starting with 1 camp from the camp huddle. That would make things significantly better. That's where I stand. Costin signing out.